covering the community, events, and people of Georgia, Carolina. This is the Means Report. Here is Brad Means.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Means Report. We are grateful that you are spending part of your Sunday with us, especially on this. If you're watching it on its original air date, it's Super Bowl Sunday. I know that you have 20 hours of television to watch before the game, and we're grateful that you're taking a half hour of all that time to be with us today. We do have a special edition of the Means Report lined up for you today. We, of course, recognize that there are a lot of heavy hearts around Georgia and South Carolina, especially in the greater Aiken area, and that is why we're dedicating a good portion of this broadcast to remembering our law enforcement officers who have been killed in the line of duty on the Augusta side of the Savannah as well as the Aiken side of the Savannah. We have representatives of the Richmond County Sheriff's Office and the Aiken Department of Public Safety in-house, and they're going to be on the set of the Means Report in just a moment to talk about what they're going through, to talk about how they feel about what you, members of the public, have done on their behalf, and to look going forward perhaps at what we can expect from our law enforcement officers, how we can help them do their jobs and stay safer. All of that is coming up. It's also tax time. As you know, the end of January means that you should have all the forms in hand and you can start thinking about, if you're so inclined, taking your stuff down to the tax man or tax woman and getting your filing underway, or if you're so inclined, waiting until the very last second, which I think is April 17th this year, before you put that paperwork in. Means you might owe if you do that. Abram Serotta is with Serotta, Maddocks, Evans. He is a certified public accountant, as are most of the members of his team at Serotta, Maddocks, Evans, and he is sort of our in-house expert when it comes to taxes. He's always good about coming to the Means Report. And Abram, I really appreciate your time today during what is a very busy time for y'all. You're busy year-round, but this is really big.
Well, we try to focus a little better. I appreciate you encouraging the press procrastinators to wait till April 17th.
Right, just kind of spread it out for y'all so you're not slammed right now. You know, people.
I appreciate that. The other thing I always try to tell everybody, never shoot the messenger. We are the messenger. And so.
But you're half tax man, half psychologist, right?
We're business psychologists, personal psychologists.
Well.
So we have fun at what we do and we try to be serious at the work we try to do for people.
Well, y'all do a wonderful job at Serotta, Maddocks, Evans. We appreciate all your help, and I appreciate you beginning with sort of a look back at 2011. And as people prepare to come to you, what should they know for that tax year? Some highlights.
The highlights get just most difficult. We've in this phase where Congress passes laws in December, so we have a lot of laws from December 10 to December 11. Provisions that are changing, and they're very numerous, and so instead of going through them all, your software or whoever's preparing your return has a list of those, and some are just real minor and some are more important. An example would be in 2010 you received up to $1,500 credit if you made energy improvements in your house. That number is only $500 for 2011. So numbers change. We have to keep the numbers going. We have to use software to keep up with everything. So it's just a challenge, but you read the laws and administer them and help taxpayers out.
What about in 2012? Anything right now on the horizon that we can start to think about as y'all are big on planning, as we plan our tax year this year and try to be better prepared come tax time next year?
To repeat, December is when Congress decides to pass laws.
Yep.
So there are well over 40 provisions from 2011 that are expiring. And we have no idea whether they will be retroactive the 1st of January. Some are not retroactive. One is called the old work opportunity credit, and that work opportunity credit helped employers to pay for hiring additional employees. They may make it retroactive in December, so you have to keep up with the paperwork now, because if you don't, you'll lose the credit. So there's a lot of these credits you need to know that are expiring that could be re-put in if Congress decides to do so.
You know what I'm hearing from you? Get an expert to handle it, because it sounds like it's too much for the average person who's not dedicated to that job to keep up with.
Well, we're prejudiced along that way, but It's just knowing that things change. What you knew last year may change from this year, and that's pretty frustrating.
All right, explain, if you will, please, a question we get a lot, the difference between a tax credit and tax deductions and how that all plays out.
Well, let's give an example, and we'll make it simple. If you had $100,000 in income and a $30,000 deduction, and we'll assume, just for easiness, that you were in the 30% bracket, 30,000 times 30%, you'd save $9,000. If you had $100,000 in taxes and you had a $30,000 credit, your taxes would go down by the 100% or the $30,000. So credits, dollar for dollar, are much more valuable than deductions, but you shouldn't miss any deductions just because you receive a percentage of it.
What's something besides children that gets you a tax credit? We all try to have as many children as we can. Outside of that, what can we do to get that credit?
Well, you could have some stocks that have foreign income, which they take out withholding at the source, foreign tax credit, the energy credit. There are credits for both children and child care would be examples. People remodeling downtown have gotten serious historic credits.
Yeah.
And Historic Augusta has been very active in making sure those credits are taking place.
What about special things in the state of Georgia, just off the top of your head, that people can do to lower their taxes or to help them out at tax time?
In 2011, if you participated, there was a scholarship program where you could give money. We use what's called Georgia Goals Scholarship, and then that money funnels back into private schools. You could pick the private school in the Augusta area, and they would use it for scholarships or low-income students. So you got a dollar for dollar credit there. There's actually some movie credits. Georgia's the movie capital west of the Mississippi, not east of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
I said that backwards. And so there's a big movie going on in Atlanta right now. And these companies, Warner Brothers and Sony, they have these tax credits that they sell, which can reduce your taxes. That's another example.
Let's take a look at some new tax legislation. There is legislation out there that reduces a person's Social Security wages, but it has a cap, and it's as if you're penalizing the high earners. Why is that the more you make, the more that the government penalizes you when it comes to your Social Security? You're putting into the system.
I try not to be political on these shows, so let me try to restrain myself, but Congress passed a 2-month extension, and the maximum Social Security wages subject to Social Security is $110,100. And some people who make more than you and I may make that amount of money in the 2-month period. So all they did was prorate that $110,100. Said if you went over that in the first 2 months, you would have to give some of that back by the end of the year. What everybody is hoping is that basically Congress will extend that for the full 12 months. Otherwise, it's a nightmare.
Can you pay by credit card if you owe taxes? A lot of people think that's an easy way to do it, and you can also get those points. Is that something you recommend?
We don't recommend it, but you can do it. You can get your frequent flyer or your points or your cash back. Two limiting things. Number one, your credit card has to have the ability to pay as much as some people may have to pay. Number two, the fees that a credit card charges the merchant, they're going to charge you. And in many of these cards, it's 3 or 5% of the amount of money, and so it's not worth it necessarily to do that.
Last question, why is a refund loan a bad idea instead of waiting? And this is something that's very, very timely, because a lot of people right here at the 1st of February are thinking, you know what, I can have my money instantly without having to wait. Well, why don't you like that?
Most preparers are required to file electronically, and the refunds run from 2 to 4 weeks.
Well, that's it?
That's it.
Oh, wow.
And so you're going to pay extra money to speed up for 2 weeks. The interest rate is probably 70 to 80% if you annualize that. So we don't recommend that at all. We just think it's a way of raising the price of the tax return.
And e-filing is pretty much the way to go now. That's what's happening.
E-filing is the way to go. You don't have to mail in and get a certified receipt and everything else, and it speeds up the whole process.
Abram, wealth of information coming our way in just a few minutes of time on this Sunday afternoon, and I really appreciate it. Folks, if you need more information, you can get in touch with Serotta Maddocks 7s, the CPAs. There is their website. You can also find them at 7th and Green in downtown Augusta. Been there forever, and they are here to help you. And Abram, Serotta, we appreciate you being here today. Appreciate all the advice for sure.
Thank you very much, Brad.
Yes, sir, anytime. When we come back, representatives of the Richmond County Sheriff's Office and the Aiken Department of Public Safety to look back on the week that was and look ahead. Tell us how we can all work together to help make our communities safer for them. We'll be right back.